Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk to you about the personal name for God in the Old Testament. Some of you may know this name as Yahweh, and others of you may know this name as Jehovah. Well, there's a fascinating story behind these two versions of God's name, and I want to share with you a condensed version of that story. So, first of all, you often see God's name abbreviated like this: YHWH. Why is that? Well, in the Jewish religious community, the divine name is considered so sacred that it is never pronounced. In order to prevent the name from being pronounced, they simply remove the vowels. So when you want to say the sacred name, what you do is you say the word Adonai instead, which means Lord. Now, this is something that reaches back thousands of years. And by the way, this is why religious Jews today often write G-D rather than God. It's kind of a nod to the sacredness of the divine name. Now, there's actually another reason why it is appropriate to write YHWH, and that is in the Hebrew Bible, as it was originally written, there were no vowels in the text. And in fact, in modern Hebrew, this is still the case. No vowels are written. Hebrew speakers are able to recognize words by the consonants alone. They differentiate between words with the same consonants by looking at the context. And we rely on context too in the English language with words like pit, which depending on the context can either mean a hole in the ground or a giant seed in the middle of a fruit. So context tells us which concept a word represents. So the Hebrew Bible, as it was originally written, did not have vowels in the text. Well, around the 8th century AD, a group of Hebrew scribes known as the Masoretes recognized that there was a problem with this. They recognized that without vowels in the text, you run the risk of having subsequent generations forget how words are supposed to be pronounced. So in order to better preserve the Hebrew Bible for future generations, they added vowels into the consonant-only text. And in order to avoid disturbing the text in any way, they added these vowels below and sometimes even above the consonants. As a result, when you read Hebrew, you read in a zigzag pattern. For example, my name in Hebrew would be written like this, with the vowels underneath, as you can see here. And your eyes are essentially moving up and down like this. So what did the Masoretes do when they had to add vowels to the sacred personal name of God, the one with the consonants YHWH? Well, they didn't want to put the correct vowels in, lest the sacred name be pronounced when you're reading the text out loud. And they also wanted to honor the ancient practice of reading Adonai instead of Yahweh. Thus, what the Masoretes ended up doing is placing the vowels for the word Adonai under the consonants of the word Yahweh. By doing this, they ensured that someone who came across the divine name would remember to read Adonai and not actually pronounce the divine name. So let me show you how this works. Here's how Adonai would be written. The first symbol you see here is actually a letter in the Hebrew alphabet that has no sound. You see, in the Hebrew language, every word has to begin with a consonant. So if you want to write a word that starts with a vowel sound, you need to write this blank consonant first and then put a vowel underneath it, so it starts with an A. Also in Hebrew, the A and the Y together produce an I sound, so this would be read Adonai. So the Masoretes took these vowels for Adonai, and then they added them underneath the consonants of the sacred name YHWH, which resulted in this word, Jehovah. Does this sound familiar at all? When we write this word in English, the Y is changed to a J, and the W is changed to a V, resulting in the word Jehovah. So let's go over that one more time. The Masoretes took the vowels from the word Adonai, that A-O-A, and placed it on the bottom of the sacred personal name for God. And when we write this in English, we get the word Jehovah. So what does this mean? Well, several things. It means that the word Jehovah is not a real word. A couple hundred years ago, when the Bible was translated from Hebrew into English, scholars were unaware of this switch in vowels, so they thought this was actually how the sacred name was written. They didn't understand that the vowels were taken from the word Adonai in order to make sure that the sacred name was not pronounced. So thus, the word Jehovah is a result of a simple mistake in translating the Hebrew Bible. And it is for this reason that the more modern translations do not have the name Jehovah in the text. I was actually bummed to learn this. It makes me sad that Jehovah is not a real word. I think that Jehovah Jireh sounds way better than Yahweh Jireh, but this is just the way it is. With all of that said, I don't think there's anything wrong with using the name Jehovah. I'm not at all trying to persuade you to stop using the word. Mistake or not, the name Jehovah is an English word written in every English dictionary, and as such, you are free to use it for the name of God if that's what you prefer. I just want you to be informed about how the name Jehovah came about. Another thing that is really fascinating is that we are not even 100% sure that Yahweh is the correct pronunciation of the sacred name. After all, the correct vowels to the sacred name were never written down by the Jews anywhere. And after a while, the historical pronunciation was simply lost. So there are even some scholars who have suggested that the name was pronounced YHWH. However, the majority of linguists today agree that Yahweh is most likely the way that the sacred personal name should be pronounced.